Here we go. Welcome to UpLevel Your Teaching, a 25-hour advanced yoga teacher training program. And this is a great jumping off point. If you watched any of our videos on Instagram, you have a little bit of an idea what Gina and I are hoping to bring to you. We want to bring to you a program that will enhance your teaching if you are teaching, give you the motivation to teach if you took a training, but not quite sure you're ready to walk into the classroom, and also give you the tools you need to not be feeling so rusty if you haven't been teaching in a live setting or just on Zoom or not at all. So Gina has put together some slides that will give you more of an idea of exactly what to expect. We will be doing 4 Saturdays in person, 4 Tuesday nights as a follow-up to our in-person training, which will have applied anatomy and some philosophical ways that you can incorporate that into your asana practice, into your teaching, and how it can enhance both your own practice and your teaching. So Gina, if you want to start moving the slides so people can get an idea of what we're doing. So why offer this training? Why? What we've been hearing and seeing from other people and from my own personal experiences is that we're rusty. We haven't had the experience of being in the classroom quite a bit in 2 years. And some of my students who finished their training in March of 2020 were really gung-ho about getting into teaching, and the rug was pulled out from underneath them. There was no teaching to be had. They did their practicals on Zoom, and nobody really knew how to do anything on Zoom. And now, here we are, the world is opening up, and you want to get into teaching yoga again. What do I do? And I've only done a Zoom training, let's say. I've never seen a live body. What do I do? Well, we felt this was a great way for students who have completed the 200 hours, never seen a live body, haven't had an opportunity to teach, could get an opportunity by being in a room that is supportive, an environment that is going to entice you, and also to motivate you to want to get into teaching, to want to be in the classroom. Here's the good news. There's no homework, as you can see. Any reading that you do is up to you. We'll give you suggestions, but it's not mandatory. All the 25 hours will be with us, not with anybody else. And who doesn't want to be with us? Because we're both so charming and knowledgeable. You don't need to have any extra books. You don't need to have go to visit any websites. You simply have to show up with a desire to want to learn more and be present. To make this as doable and as motivating and as enticing as we possibly can. And who doesn't want to get together and talk about yoga, practice yoga, be in a space that is warm and supporting. And I've been to New York Yoga, and it's just the most adorable, sweet studio. And I'm going to pass this off to Gina and see what she has to add to it.
Thanks, Ellen. In case you've not met me, my name is Gina Cunningham, and I teach at New York Loves Yoga, which is the place where we'll be holding the Saturday sessions. I've known Ellen for many, many years. I know Ellen through yoga, and now I know Ellen through life outside of yoga. And, about a year ago, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that a year ago. I've lost all concept of time. Thank you, COVID. But Ellen approached me and she said, hey, what do you think about creating a training, something like this UpLevel idea? And I was very intrigued because, well, one, I love Ellen and was very happy about the idea of working with Ellen. But two, I know what I had been hearing from recent 200-hour yoga teacher training program graduates, especially graduates who maybe went through an online teacher training program, as Ellen mentioned, also with like more experienced teachers who just hadn't been in a studio for a while. And in New York City, I mean, we were just like locked down for so long. We were all teaching on Zoom. If you even had the opportunity to teach on Zoom, and some people, graduated, didn't even know how to, they weren't even, in a studio or part of a studio family to even begin to make an offering through a Zoom channel on a studio. And so, that's when Ellen approached me and I started thinking about the things I'd heard from recent 200-hour graduates. But also I know what I experienced in my own teaching practice, that when I think it was in April of 2021, when finally we were back in person in New York City, I realized I hadn't like put my hands on somebody or actually taught a class outside of, this sort of like these boxes on my computer in so long that I too felt a little bit rusty. And I've been teaching for years. So I thought, wow, what if someone has even, less experience than me? Like what might they be feeling? So that's sort of where we ended. That's how, we came about putting together this whole program with this idea of lots of opportunities to do hands-on assists and adjustments. We'll provide a lot of guidance and suggestions around, which asanas we'll be focusing on and why. Also, there's always opportunity to have conversations around sequencing, whether, you've learned yoga online and have been seeing lots of people regularly in person, or if you, haven't, but there's always questions around sequencing. So that's another area where Ellen and I decided that let's put a little bit more focus on that. So a little bit later on, we have a slide where we show a sample syllabus, like what the Saturday might look like. It's pretty close to what it's going to look like on Saturdays, and then what the Tuesdays look like. So you can start to kind of get a sense of what it might be like to be in the classroom with us, and some of the topics that we might be discussing on a given day. I think we covered off on this.
There's one thing that I wanted to add.
Please.
Another reason that Gina and I both felt that this was a wonderful program to offer, whether there's COVID or no COVID, I always felt, and I think many of us have felt who have finished a 200-hour teacher training, now what? You have all this information, but yet you don't feel ready to teach. And you certainly don't want to jump right in and do another 300, because nobody ever leaves a 200-hour teacher training or any teacher training going, oh, let me take another training. You're usually going, I've had enough. But yet you don't know what to do with the knowledge that you have. So this is a really great bridge. If you think of it as a bridge from going from this 200-hour introductory training and moving yourself into a place where you're feeling like, okay, I feel confident enough to teach a class and be with students, get my hands on students, so that at some point in the near future, when you do decide, or if you do decide to go further in your yoga education, you feel more confident even moving into that 300-hour teacher training. This is simply the missing piece that exists between a 200-hour and a 300-hour. I've always felt with the students that I've worked with, they have always said to me, the training was great, but now what?
I've heard that too. I felt that when I graduated from my 200-hour.
Me too.
So, yeah. I think we covered off on who should attend. So let's go to, here's just some specific dates and times. These are all listed up on New York Loves Yoga website. I have a link at the end so you can find the specific kind of location for it. But I think one of the things just to know, because I think some of us are zoomed out, that even when we're teaching on Zoom, you won't be staring at your screen the whole time. There will be some lecture, you will be looking at the screen for some things, but then you'll also be having an experiential component. And when I was creating these slides today and looking at my screen, I was like, oh, I feel like this is just important to say, that it won't be 2 hours of screen time, because maybe I'm projecting onto anyone who might take the training, but I'm tired of being like locked onto my computer at all times. And so we wanted to make sure that that we weren't creating too much more of that, especially for the Zoom piece of this. Some of the topics we will cover, sequencing strategies. While we will talk about specific sequences, we're actually more going to be kind of creating sequences with you, and then eventually you'll be creating your own sequences with groups. What we would like to convey to you is like how to think about sequencing. It's sort of like teaching you how to fish. I mean, we could give you a fish, or we could teach you how to fish. We will provide an overview of different types of sequencing strategies. And then we'll delve into 2 or 3 specific types over the entirety of the training. So you have a time to go a little bit deep into some of these different ways of thinking about teaching, so that you can then take those ways of thinking, and you can then apply that to maybe other sequencing approaches that you find to be interesting. And we'll also provide lots of opportunities for hands-on assistant adjustments. And if you don't want to be touched, if you don't want to actually participate in this part in the Saturday sessions, that's fine. Even by observing the assistants, the assists and the adjustments, just by observing and listening to the conversations, you will get a lot of benefit out of being, present for the discussion and the questions. And it's also an opportunity to learn like how you communicate with your hands, how to communicate clearly with your hands. Well, any topics we discuss around anatomy, physiology, yogic philosophy, there will be an application, as Ellen mentioned, like how this actually relates to being able to see your students, to be able to communicate with your students, so that these sometimes these sort of big ideas, we can provide a way to help them land in the day-to-day teachings, as opposed to them saying sort of an esoteric idea. And then, of course, we'll also spend some time around using props to create some accessibility and asana modifications. Ellen, did you want to add anything more about the topics?
I did want to add one thing about seeing your students. That is a skill that is often not discussed because it's a very subjective kind of skill. But you can, and Gina and I have studied with the same teacher for many years. We both have studied with Rodney Yee. And one of the most admirable qualities that I've always admired Rod is that he could be across the room and see a student and be able to give him or her verbal instructions just from what he's seeing. And that is the skill that takes time, and a skill that you have to hone, because it's, I know we have a very dear friend that she teaches mostly online, and many of my students practice with her. And one of the things that always comes up is she doesn't miss a thing. She sees everything. That is not that you have to see everything right off the bat, but it really is so important to be able to look at somebody and see, not that you're looking for fault, you're always looking to see what's right, but you're always looking to see how you can help. If you can help, you can care, of course. That's always the basic tenet. If I can't help, at least I can care. But being able to see something and hone in on it and not, I hate to say the word correct, but enhance that person's practice is a real gift that you can give yourself and your students.
I love that. This is a sample sample syllabus, just to kind of get a feel for how Saturdays and Tuesdays could unfold. Also, when we send the recording out, you'll have the slides so you could pause and just spend a little bit more time looking at each of these. But just give you a sense of, a lot of this will be experiential. There will be some lecture, but then when we do lecture, we share some information through that. Then it's like, let's apply this information. Let's get up and let's work together. And that approach is going to follow through both the in-person sessions as well as the Zoom sessions, and they'll just start to feed on themselves. So in the Zoom sessions on the first Tuesday, we will refer back to the prior Saturday we were together, and we'll talk about anatomy and physiology in relation to what we had all talked about, and the sequencing itself. So we're going to do, our intention is to sort of thread a needle through all of the sessions. So there's continuity of theme, and then we'll just keep building and building, but then also pausing, revisit, and then maybe build a little bit more. And our last slide, how to get in touch with us. These are our email addresses. Here's the path to register for the training. On the path for the New York Loves Yoga website, you'll find even more information about the training as well as frequently asked questions. So please use that as a resource, or reach out to Ellen and me, because we love to talk about yoga and we'd love to hear from you. So with that, Ellen, did you want to add anything before I stop?
No, I think that's perfect. There is no silly questions. Ask us whatever you need to ask us. We are available, and we hope you join us, because we really feel this is an amazing opportunity for everybody, whether you're teaching a long time and just haven't been teaching in the last 2 years, whether you've never taught a class and are disappointed that you didn't have the opportunity, or if you just want to brush up on your skills and you're thinking about a 300 hours, you just want to make the commitment, maybe this will be something that gives you the motivation to do that, or maybe this will be a program that carries you for quite a while. We hope it does, and we think it will, and we know it will. So it's like they say, you're in good hands.